Thanks for joining me for video number 3 in our ChamberWorks 2030 series. My name is Cory King. I'm the Executive Director of the Bath-Brunswick Regional Chamber and the architect of the ChamberWorks 2030 program. What is ChamberWorks 2030? It is a decades-long commitment to bring together the community stakeholders of business, education, and workforce development to create new integrated problems that help solve our biggest issue, which is our workforce hiring needs. In this video, we will look at the 3 long-term programs that are part of ChamberWorks 2030. We will look at the other actionable solutions that have come up since we announced the programs back in March. And then we'll also look at a timeline of the projects of when you can expect to see them this fall. This is video number 3 of 4 in the video series. If you missed videos 1 and 2, video 1 was an overview of the entire project. Video number 2 talked about the first 3 programs, the 3 short-term programs we announced, and this video will do the 3 long-term programs. As I've said in every video so far, if you'd rather have a one-on-one conversation with me, that's what I do. I meet with community partners and businesses about this. So you can find me at Cory@midcoastmaine.com or give me a call 207-725-8797 and we can set up a time to meet. All right, also want to thank our sponsors. Our lead sponsors for ChamberWorks 2030 are the Maine State Chamber of Commerce and RE/MAX Riverside. We also have annual sponsors of the Chamber that support all that we do. So thank you to all of our cornerstone sponsors listed here. All right, so ChamberWorks 2030, the announced program. So in video number 2 last week, we looked at the 3-bucket approach. And so the first bucket of the 3 buckets is the Pathways and Partnerships bucket, which is connecting the schools to businesses. And so we talked about the programs in that bucket, which are the guidance counselor bus tours, the 1-minute job posting videos, and the paid job study program. So if you want to learn more about those, go back to video 2 on our YouTube channel, and you can see more about those. What we want to talk about here are the 3 long-term solutions, and those fall into our other 2 buckets. One of those is barrier solutions, which is looking at the societal barriers to workforce that workforce hasn't had to take a look at traditionally, and now that they do, because we have more people than we have more jobs than we have people. We've always had more people than jobs. And then the community elevation opportunities, which are new issues that have come up in the 21st century that we need to tackle. So our 3 remaining programs kind of fall into those last 2 buckets. So the 6 programs for 2022, as I said, we split them into short-term and long-term programs. The short-term ones, we're calling those our program teams. So the teams that are going to be working on those are our program teams, where the other 3 are our discovery teams. And the reason they're called discovery teams is because we know that these are going to take longer time and to solve, but we also need to discover what part of the solution. We're not going to fix any of these giant issues in a wholesale way. We have to take them in small bites. I mean, that's how you eat an elephant. And so for the first discovery team, we're looking at housing solutions for affordability and availability. Housing, of course, is one of the biggest issues that we've had. And for all of these discovery team programs, if the answer was inside the box, we would have found it by now. So by definition, the answer has to be even marginally outside the box. The way that we want to tackle these big issues is getting the experts together in a room and identifying who those experts are and have a first meeting. And what we want to do is discuss potential programs. And at the second meeting of this group, we decide which 1 to 3 avenues we want to pursue with that group. So the Chamber, we know some about these projects, but we are not as well versed as the experts. The idea is we get the experts together and say, hey, which direction can we go? If there's another housing group that's working on something else, there's no need for our group to duplicate their work. But let's look at where there isn't work happening, and maybe we can do that. Now, some potential projects, I almost hesitate to tell you what the potentials are because we don't know yet, but I do want to give you some examples of how we're going to work. And so please know we have not decided anything yet, but some potential ways we could go. We could look at building codes and to see if there's ways that need to be streamlined. We can look at appraisers. So apparently there's an appraiser shortage where most appraisers appraisers are over 60 years old, and it's taking a long time for them to schedule and book projects because they're just so busy right now. But where are we going to be in 10 years if all the appraisers were over 60 years old? How do we create new appraisers? Is there a way that the chamber can help with that training process? It's a 2,000-hour training process. What can we do to help get more appraisers recruited and trained? Do we look at doing new builds? Do we look at tiny house villages? Accessory dwelling units is something that passed in LD 2003. Is there something that we can do to help our municipalities build the codes? Now, what accessory dwelling units are is basically building additional buildings on a single family lot, which is an ideal idea for senior care. I don't know which of these to pursue, or if there's something else that's not on this list to pursue, but the experts will know. And so that's what our group is going to do, is just pick one or two of those avenues to pursue and then go pursue it. But the solution might take 6 months. It might be a policy change. It might be a town change. It might take 6 months or a year, but let's get the experts together to start solving those. Discovery Team 2 is childcare. Housing and childcare are the number 1 and 2 things that we hear about. If we're going to have new employees come to this area, they need places to live and they need people to watch their kids, especially if they're young families. So how do we do that? We lost 20% of our childcare centers during the pandemic. There is a childcare crunch. It is expensive. It is not the childcare center's fault that it's expensive. It's expensive because they have to pay their people, and they want to recruit more people into their onto their staffs. But in order to get more employees on staff, you need to charge the parents more for their kids. And the parents are saying, geez, I'm kind of leveraged. Is that something we can look into? Speaker Fecto put forward a bill to help fund some childcare workers with it's basically milestones. If the employee hits certain milestones, there's this fund from the state that could in the proposal could help pay that salary more. Is that something to look at? We've heard the reimbursement program, might need to be looked at. Maybe we look at on-site childcare or near-site childcare and see what the possibilities for that. Near-site would be geographically located. Just for instance, say Thompson Faribault, say they had an empty space. Maybe we get a childcare center in there, but the other businesses in the mall help pay into it to have slots for their employees. I don't know if this idea has ever been tried, but maybe that's something that we look at. So do we look at, changing the ratios? Are the ratios correct? Are they wrong? How to get more people into this field? So again, this one is about getting the childcare experts in the room and just say, what can we work on? We don't want to duplicate efforts that other childcare agencies are looking at, but maybe we can come together and help solve some of these things. So those two are barrier solutions bucket. And then from our community elevation program bucket comes credentialing. And so what credentialing is it's easiest to describe using a specific employee type. So you will have veterans that retire out of the military that were electricians in the military, and they get into civilian life and they say, sorry, you can't be an electrician because you don't have the certain licensing. And it's like, oh goodness, they just did it for years and years and years in the military. For sure, they have the ability to do this. So how can we make sure that people with the right skill sets have these credentials to do that? We're seeing this with our internationally trained talent. We've got people, asylum seekers that have come to Maine that have really unique skill sets, but they don't have the proper licensing here to get into those roles. But if there's openings that we need people for and they can do these jobs, how do we start connecting to make sure they have all the credentialing that they need? Or do we need as much credentialing in some of these areas? I don't know. And so this is where we pull together some of our experts in the community college system and in the colleges and in the workforce to say, what are the skills that are really needed? And let's figure that out. So for this one, what we're probably going to do is either focus on a specific group of employees. So maybe it's veterans, maybe it's internationally trained talent, or we'll look at specific industries and look at their process as a whole and see, for instance, how plumbers or electricians, do credentialing and how that could be adjusted. So so those are the long-term projects. Again, all of those could take 6 months or a year, but we're going to get expert teams together to work on those. And as we have solutions for those, we'll bring those forward. But we wanted to start first with the short-term programs programs because we wanted to build the momentum of this program and to really show some tangible results. And so we'll get to timelines in a second. But I wanted to talk for a second about the other actionable solutions that emerged. And so the job study program, we were talking to the schools about that. And one of the things that came out of that conversation is they were saying, hey, we've got to call all these businesses to see what they've got for summer employment for high school students so we can advertise those positions to the kids. And so I was talking to all three schools and I said, hey, rather than all three of you calling the same business to find out what they have for employment stuff, why don't we just do it together? Why don't we run it through the chamber? So we created an email address called careers@midcoastmaine.com, where if you sent an email to that address, it auto-forwarded to Morse High School, Mount Ararat, and Brunswick, and they advertised those positions to kids, and kids got some summer employment through that. That's a solution that I think we can do throughout the school year as well. I want to confirm that with the schools, but again, it's another little simple solution that we can work on, together. Through the credentialing conversations I've had some talks with the community college system and adult ed about some incumbent worker training. There potentially could be some dollars available. So if I go into a business and the business says, geez, I've got 5 employees that really need help with Excel or drafting or whatever they say, there might be some training dollars from the community college system for that to do courses through them or maybe through adult ed. So there's a program that we're looking at there, which again is not one of the 6 things we picked at the beginning, but if other solutions come up and other ways that can help businesses, we want to advertise that and get that out there as well. We're working with a company right now who does an online resume search. They're a resource right now. It's something that's been used in the tech industry to recruit tech employees to tech companies. And what they're doing is looking at the algorithm that they're using, and we're trying to expand it across all industries so that, even if you're not in tech, if you're in construction, in banking, in education, healthcare, whatever you're in, that this algorithm can find online resumes for you from 50 or 70 or 100 different hiring sites. So I don't want to talk more specifically about that one, but that one we're at the stage with that one where I am actually working with 3 or 4 businesses, handpicked businesses, to see how the algorithm works with their job postings. And if that all works out well, that's something that we'll be launching to everybody and letting them know. And then fall workforce panels. I want to get some experts together in the areas of employee retention and employee recruitment. It's such a huge thing right now. There are some trade associations in the state that are doing some really great programs that businesses can become a part of. There's some things that we're doing that we can add to that mix. But it's bringing the experts in. I think we do it at the chamber office, and then we go to Flight Deck Brewing or somewhere else and grab a beer after for those that want to talk. But 75 to 90 minutes in a classroom setting with a panel of you getting your questions answered from people that are having success in retention, in recruitment, to find out what they're doing to get people. And then for those that want to talk and mingle after, we go to Flight Deck. So what's this all mean? This all means that we're on the precipice of having, between the 3 short-term programs that we're launching and the other actionable steps, we're going to have 5 to 7 things that we can go out to businesses and say, hey, you want to do a guidance counselor bus tour? Here's how you sign up for those. Or here's the date of the next one. Hey, do you want to do a 1-minute job posting video? So, here's how you submit it. Here's what's included. Here's the guidelines for that program. So that's all the things we're working on internally right now. These are all goal dates for our timelines and our rollout. We are meeting with the schools in August a few times. I'm meeting with some tech folks. We're hoping to get the guidance counselor bus tours and some dates on the calendar and some formats for that. To go out and start recruiting businesses. We're hoping to have that all figured out by September 1st to September 10th, sometime in that first part of September, to get those ready to go. And then we'll launch them, thereafter. So what we're going to have ready by September 10th there is how to sign up for these programs. And then we'll execute them thereafter. From October 1st to October 31st, that's where the paid job study program comes in. The schools are eager to get on this, but they just got approved for the grant from the state here in the last 4 weeks or so. They're working out with the state if they're going to be fully funding. The state's still coming down with some guidelines. We're hoping to have that ready for the beginning of the school year, but it's taking a little bit longer. Know that it's a 2-year grant. So you know what, starting in October rather than September, yes, it does. It's a month later, but sometimes these things take time, and that's okay. So we're pinpointing October as a time that we should have some guidelines, or at least a timeline of when that program will kick off and what some of the registration details will look like. And then for the other programs, for the discovery programs, I want to have the first meeting of those experts in housing and credentialing by the end of September. I think that's a very attainable goal. Setting a meeting in August is really tough with so many vacations. So I'm expecting sometime in September for both of those. And then for childcare, by end of October. The only reason that one is lengthened out is the chamber doesn't have as many childcare centers as part of our coalition of members right now. So we're going to need some help identifying who should be at the table for that one. But yeah, the idea is that we start having those meetings this fall, and as we figure out which direction we'll go in, we'll update those accordingly. And then our launch when ready, are that careersinmidcoastmaine.com email address that I was talking about, the fall workshops and the other actionable solutions that look like they might come to fruition. In our next video, video number 4 will be our final video in the ChamberWorks 2030 series. We are going to look at what ChamberWorks 2030, what we're going to be looking at for next year. So these are the 6 programs and the other actionable things that we're looking at right now. We're going to continue with some, many, maybe most of these, but are there other programs we want to layer in? What are some of those potential programs that might be under consideration for 2023 and beyond? And then I want to talk about expanding this. We have an idea for statewide expansion and kind of a 5-year plan of how ChamberWorks can go. So again, thank you for watching as always. Like and share the video if you want. If you do want to meet with me again, one-on-one, Cory King, Executive Director, Bath-Brunswick Regional Chamber, Cory at midcoastmaine.com. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you soon.